Thank you, Clint, and let's welcome Craig Williams.
My personal philosophy believes that every one of you in this room is my brother and sister. Now, brothers and sisters, we stand on the horizon of ages with a task ahead of us of restoring the liberty in our nation. And we must stand shoulder to shoulder to accomplish this task. Now, I'm going to start with a very uncomfortable question. I've asked this all over the state, and 5 people around the entire state have gotten this right so far. Who was the senator before Patty Murray?
Brock
Now,
Adams.
don't feel bad. I don't see a lot of hands going up. Go ahead. No.
Warren Magnuson.
No. No. I haven't heard the name yet. No.
Brock Adams.
Brock Adams. Now, you don't need to feel bad if you don't remember that name. What it illustrates is that it is not about us. It is about what we do. Our founding fathers took on the task of creating a new government through a revolution that they didn't know where it would lead them. They didn't have a new leader waiting in the wings. They didn't have a new king that they were fighting for. They had a revolution based on the idea that there were certain unalienable rights. Among those were life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And they fought for that ideal, precisely why you are here today fighting for these same ideals. And when they got together to create our government, they created something beyond themselves. We, the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, and promote the general welfare, do ordain and establish, this Constitution of the United States of America. I'm sorry. For the United, no, there's something missing there, and that's the important part. And you can see I'm human now. We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice and promote the general welfare and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. That's the important part. Why did they do it? To preserve the blessings of liberty to themselves and their posterity. And we must in this day face with truth and reality the problems that we face. We cannot play the games that have been played over the last 30 years. Now let me give you a little history about why I have a political philosophy like I do. When I got back, I grew up conservative, Democrat, that's how I saw the world. I promoted conservative causes. I debated in high school and I promoted Reaganomics and supply-side economics. And when I got back from my church mission in Japan, I got involved in the College Republicans. And I went to a meeting where they were sharing, there was a representative from either the National Republican Senatorial Committee or the National Republican Congressional Committee, the Western States Coordinator. And she taught us all about how to run campaigns, all the logistics, money, PR, organization. And then came time for questions. I waited after a couple questions, and I raised my hand, and I said, we've talked about all the logistics, now I have a question. How do you find good, wise, and honest people to run for office? And she looked at me like I was crazy and said, that does not matter. All that matters is that there is more of us than there are of them. And recently, Carl Forte of the National Republican Congressional Committee, when describing what the purpose of those 2 committees was, said, our job is to find people with R behind their name and get them elected. We don't care what they stand for. If you've been wondering why there's a difference at the grassroots level and at the national level, that explains it. I, at that point, changed my philosophy. It was about principles, not about party. Like Reagan said, the party departed from me, I didn't depart from the party. Now, Thoreau said that for every 1,000 people who are hacking at the leaves of evil, there is one hacking at the root. And there are many roots that we must focus on and stop hacking at the leaves of evil. 1,000 Republicans that I probably have served in office since I was a young man have signed the no tax pledge and gone back to Washington, D.C. Why do we have a $12 trillion debt then? Because they deficit spent, which is simply a tax increase for the future. It's a lie to stand up and say, I took that pledge, and then to vote to borrow money. Borrowing and spending has an interest rate attached to it. Since Patty Murray has been into office, we have spent as a nation $6 trillion in interest. You have to add that to the tax cuts in order to really get a reality of what we've spent. Now, cutting taxes works to a point, but if you cut them too low, you actually take away all revenue. Logically, if you take them to zero, it doesn't increase revenue, it takes it all away. We have a bill to pay for our liberty and for future generations. Now, I have been blessed to have been given the opportunity to live in King County, Western Washington, Eastern Washington, and Southwestern Washington. I never intended to be a senator, but God has placed this opportunity in my path, given me an educational background and a business background nationally and internationally that I believe provides the qualities that we need to put up against Senator Patty Murray in this election. I crossed the east-west divide of Washington. I have an educational background beyond hers, an MBA in securities finance. I designed nuclear fuel for a living all over the world in power plants. I understand these issues. I am not asking just for your vote. I'm asking for your heart, your soul. Thank you.
They're following the time limits. I think they'll all follow the Constitution, so that's great. Okay, so that gives us a lot of time for questions and answers. And as I said, I want to thank those of you that sent in your questions. We purposely did not just say, let's pass the mic around, because sometimes then we hear speeches from the audience, or we focus on the same topic, and we want to hear a lot here. So what's going to happen is we have John over here, who is our question